Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something really quite fascinating we found in the source material. It's all about natural arthritis relief. And specifically, there's this striking claim about a Dr. Sarah Reynolds.
Oh, right, from the Mayo Clinic, wasn't it?
Exactly, from Mayo Clinic. And the claim, well, it's pretty big. The source says she's apparently helped over 10,000 patients beat arthritis naturally.
Wow. Okay, 10,000. That number alone. And the specific words, beat arthritis naturally, that definitely catches your attention.
It really does. You immediately start thinking, what does that actually mean? Beat it. And naturally. Okay, so let's kind of dig into that a bit.
Yeah, because 10,000 patients, especially linked to a place like Mayo Clinic, it's not just the number, it's the implication, isn't it? Usually you hear about managing arthritis.
Right, managing, coping with.
Exactly, but beat it. And naturally. That phrasing in the source, it suggests, well, something quite different from the standard narrative.
It does. It sort of challenges the usual thinking around chronic joint conditions. And the naturally part, our sources actually give some detail there.
Oh, yeah. What do they say?
It seems to refer to a specific tailored approach Dr. Reynolds used. Things like targeted dietary changes, specific physical therapy regimens, personalized lifestyle adjustments.
Okay, so not just like one magic billet.
No, definitely not. More of a whole person comprehensive strategy, it sounds like.
Right, which makes sense. But still, achieving that kind of result, supposedly, with 10,000 people, I mean, if that number holds up, it really puts a spotlight on non-drug approaches, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It suggests that maybe medication isn't the only main route.
Yet highlights the potential for the body, to heal or at least significantly improve with the right natural support.
Exactly. And think about what that means for people listening who deal with joint pain every day. The idea of beating it and doing so naturally, that offers a different kind of, hope, maybe.
A different pathway, certainly.
Yeah.
Less invasive, potentially empowering people to take more control through lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a powerful concept. So just to quickly recap for you listening, we've been looking at this really interesting mention in our sources. It's about Dr. Sarah Reynolds at the Mayo Clinic. In this report that she helped over 10,000 patients find relief from arthritis using natural methods, diet, therapy, lifestyle.
Right. A comprehensive natural approach with significant reported success. And it does leave you with a pretty important question, I think.
Yeah.
Well, if managing or even potentially beating something like arthritis naturally is possible on such a wide scale, what could that really mean, for how we approach chronic conditions, for individual health strategies moving forward?
That's a really good point. It definitely makes you think about the future role of these more natural, evidence-based methods in healthcare.
Exactly. Food for thought. Okay, let's dive in. Imagine hearing this. Up to maybe 60% of people who are actually scheduled for joint surgery, they might not even need it.
Yeah, it's a pretty staggering figure, isn't it?
It really is. It kind of flips the script on how we think about chronic joint pain and what our bodies can actually do to heal themselves.
Absolutely. And it's not just, wishful thinking. There's solid research behind this coming from places like the Mayo Clinic. It's genuinely changing how we approach managing chronic pain.
Right. And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We're calling it Natural Arthritis Relief, Protocols for Joint Pain. We've looked closely at these protocols, insights shared by an experienced rheumatologist, and we want to unpack these, pretty simple science-backed techniques that seem to tap into your body's own healing power.
Exactly. And the implications, not just for individuals, but maybe for the whole healthcare system, they're potentially huge.
Huge. So we'll be exploring how these natural approaches can work with your body's innate healing mechanisms.
Often getting really significant improvements without needing, scalpels or lengthy recoveries. It really makes you question if surgery has to be the first thought every time.
Okay, so we're talking about unlocking this natural potential.
Yeah.
What's step one? Like, practically speaking, in these protocols, I keep hearing about morning routines.
Yes. The morning routine is pretty central.
What makes them so effective? Is there something about the timing?
The timing is actually a key insight here. Research suggests that doing some gentle mobility exercises within 30 minutes of waking up, that can boost their effectiveness by maybe as much as 40%.
40%? Wow.
It's all about working with your body's natural cortisol rhythms synergistically.
Cortisol rhythms. Okay, unpack that for us.
Yeah.
Why does that timing matter so much for, say, stiff joints?
Right. So your cortisol levels, they naturally peak in the morning. Now, cortisol gets a bad rap, stress hormone and all that.
Yep.
But it also plays a really vital role in managing inflammation and basically getting your body ready for the day, ready for activity. So by timing these gentle movements right when cortisol is peaking, you're kind of priming your joints when your body is naturally most geared up to reduce stiffness, improve blood flow, and importantly, increase synovial fluid.
Synovial fluid.
Yeah.
That's like the body's natural joint lubricant.
Exactly. You're catching your body at the optimal moment to get things moving smoothly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like tapping into the body's own built-in schedule. I think about animals. They always stretch when they wake up.
It's a very similar principle. Innate wisdom.
So what do these movements look like? Is it some long, complicated yoga session?
Not at all. And that's part of the beauty of it, really. The specific protocol is surprisingly simple.
Okay.
Just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of gentle ankle and wrist rotations. That's it. But, and this is crucial, you do them before you even get out of bed, before your feet touch the floor.
Before standing up.
Yes. That seems to maximize that synchronization effect with your morning physiology we were just talking about.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Before you even properly wake up, almost.
Yeah.
That's incredibly doable. A tiny investment for potentially big returns.
Precisely. Low barrier to entry, high potential impact.
But I guess it's not just about movement, right?
Yeah.
What about food? What role does nutrition play in these protocols?
Oh, nutrition is absolutely fundamental, foundational. And this is where we see another really interesting synergy
Okay.
with something they call the anti-inflammatory smoothie.
Ah, the smoothie. I've seen that mentioned.
Right. And it's not just blending up random fruits. It's a very specific combination. Pineapple, turmeric, and almond milk.
Okay, pineapple, turmeric, almond milk. Why that exact mix?
Well, when you drink this on an empty stomach, studies are showing it can reduce systemic inflammation markers, things like C-reactive protein or CRP,
Anyway,
by up to 65%, which is pretty significant.
65% reduction in inflammation markers just from a smoothie. There must be some cool science behind that specific.
It really is. It's quite elegant, actually. So you've got bromelain in the pineapple. That's an enzyme, and it helps break down inflammatory proteins in the body. Then you have curcumin from the turmeric. That's the active compound.
Yellow stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Curcumin is known to directly block several inflammatory pathways. But here's the real game changer. The almond milk, or rather the healthy fats in the almond milk, they create this lipid environment that dramatically boosts the bioavailability of the curcumin. Basically, it helps your body absorb and actually use the curcumin much, much more effectively.
How much more effectively?
We're talking potentially up to 2,000% better absorption compared to just consuming turmeric on its own or, say, with water.
2,000%. That's wow. So it's the combination, the synergy that unlocks the power.
Precisely. The fats help carry the curcumin across the gut lining and into the bloodstream where it can do its work. It's brilliant biological teamwork.
That is genuinely mind-blowing.
Right.
So, okay, someone commits. They do the 2-minute morning mobility before getting up. They have the smoothie. What kind of timeline are we looking at? When do people start to, feel the difference?
Yeah, good question. So the data often points to about 8 weeks for seeing the more comprehensive results.
8 weeks.
But, and this is really encouraging, it helps people stick with it. Many report noticeable improvements in things like sleep quality within just the first week.
First week for better sleep? That's fast.
It can be. And often noticeable changes in pain or stiffness start showing up within about 2 weeks of consistent daily practice.
2 weeks. That's a reasonable target.
Very. And after those initial 8 weeks, the studies suggest most people can often maintain the results with maybe a slightly more relaxed routine, not necessarily every single day. Consistency at the start seems key.
Right. It's striking just how accessible this all sounds and, well, low cost compared to the usual medical routes.
That's such a crucial point. Let's just look at the numbers for a second. Average knee surgery, you're looking at maybe $35,000, sometimes more.
Wow. Yeah.
These natural protocols, the smoothie ingredients, maybe some turmeric supplements if you go that route.
Yeah.
It runs about, what, $30 to $40 a month?
$30 versus 35,000. That's quite a difference.
It's enormous. And here's the kicker. Some studies show that people who consistently follow these kinds of natural approaches have something like a 45% lower rate of actually needing surgery over a 5-year period.
45% lower need for surgery.
Yeah. We hear stories like there was one case, Martha, I think her name was, scheduled for knee surgery, started this kind of natural program, canceled the surgery after just 2 months, feeling that much better.
That's incredible. Martha's story. It really makes it concrete, doesn't it? These are just abstract percentages.
Exactly. Real people, real results.
So with stats like these and stories like Martha's, are we seeing traditional medicine catching on? Are doctors starting to embrace this more?
You know, we really are seeing a shift. Slowly, perhaps, but definitely. More doctors, especially rheumatologists and primary care physicians, are starting to recommend these protocols as like a first-line treatment.
Before jumping to prescriptions or surgery referrals.
Yes, exactly. Especially as they see more patients succeed and as the supporting data just keeps getting stronger, it really poses a big question for the whole system, doesn't it?
Yeah, like how do we integrate these powerful, non-invasive, low-cost solutions more broadly?
Precisely. The ripple effects could be massive. Think about it. Joint pain affects, what, nearly 30% of adults?
Something like that, yeah. A huge number.
So an effective, cheap intervention like this, it could literally save billions in healthcare costs annually. Not to mention the improvement in quality of life.
Billions. It really highlights this move towards working with the body's healing capacity.
It does. It's a fundamental shift away from maybe immediately trying to override symptoms with drugs or remove the problem with surgery towards amplifying the body's own ability to rebalance and heal.
It challenges the old model.
Completely. It challenges the traditional approach to pain management at its core.
So if this trend keeps building, what does that suggest about the future of how we handle pain?
Well, I believe we're kind of at a tipping point. As more and more research validates these natural methods, we'll likely see them become less alternative and more just, standard practice, part of main toolkit.
Because the results are just too hard to ignore.
Exactly. The data, the cost effectiveness, the patient outcomes, it's all incredibly compelling, especially when we're talking about empowering the body itself.
Okay, so let's just recap the main takeaways from our deep dive today. We've really explored this incredible power of natural, pretty accessible approaches.
Right, like those super simple, gentle morning mobility routines, just 2 minutes. Time to sync up with your body's natural cortisol rhythm.
Yeah, and that specific anti-inflammatory smoothie, the pineapple, turmeric, almond milk combo, designed to dramatically boost how your body absorbs those key anti-inflammatory compounds.
And we saw how sticking to these protocols can lead to really impressive results, sometimes starting within just a couple of weeks, potentially reducing the need for surgery significantly.
And saving a ton of money in the process.
Yeah.
The core message seems to be consistency, especially early on, is key.
It really is. And, it prompts a bigger thought, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if these relatively simple, low-cost, natural things can make such a difference for something as common and debilitating as joint pain, reducing the need for expensive, invasive stuff, What does that really tell us about our body's own, inherent power to heal?
That maybe we have more capacity, more internal resources than we usually think.
Exactly. Maybe we often underestimate just how much healing potential is already built in.
And that leads to, I guess, a final provocative thought for you listening. If this shift works for joint pain, this idea of amplifying natural healing first, how might that change how we approach other common chronic conditions, beyond arthritis? What new possibilities does this open up for prevention for holistic health?
Yeah.
If we start thinking amplify natural healing before reaching for the prescription pad or the surgical console?
Yeah, what could that future look like? Definitely something to think about. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, our deep dive isn't just about, specific health tips. We're actually looking at something a bit different. It's more about revealing the maybe hidden mechanisms behind a lot of online health advice. How even, well-meaning tips get packaged with persuasive tactics. Things designed not just to inform, but, well, to engage you, build anticipation, keep you connected. We're pulling some excerpts today from a piece titled Daily Health Habits and Future Wellness. Now, this source gets into recommendations like doing 10 minutes of mindfulness daily, or maybe starting your morning with warm lemon water. Pretty standard stuff, right? But right away, it frames this advice with some pretty bold promises, and actually states, and I'm quoting here, consistency is key. Do these daily for 2 weeks and you will see changes. That's a really powerful, almost irresistible claim right out of the gate.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is precisely that blend. You get the practical advice, but it's immediately followed by this very clear call to action. And like you said, a future promise of guaranteed results. It sets, a really high expectation. And when we talk about a call to action, we mean those direct requests, things like smash that like button. It sort of urges you, the listener, to think about the full context. This presented as free doctor advice. Is it just information? Or is it also designed to draw you in, get you clicking, get you engaged right now?
That promise.
Yeah.
You will see changes. It's incredibly potent, isn't it? But thinking beyond just drawing us in, how does that kind of absolute certainty potentially influence someone, especially someone looking for reliable health info when we know health outcomes are so individual?
That's a really critical point. Yeah. When content uses language that definitive, it kind of bypasses all the nuances, right? Individual health, how different bodies respond. It fosters this expectation that it works the same for everyone. Universality. And then once you're kind of hooked by that promise, the source gets really explicit. It asks you to engage in very specific ways. It says, quote, if this helped you, do 3 things. 1, smash that like button. 2, subscribe to Health is Blessings. 3, comment warrior below.
Warrior. Okay.
And it even adds why. Doing this helps others find this too. So it turns receiving advice into this social transaction almost, a way to boost the content's reach.
Wow. It's incredible how quickly seemingly free advice can feel like it's part of a clear marketing funnel. I think, we've all scrolled past those shocking reveals on our feeds. They promise to expose the one food causing all our problems or something. What kind of anticipation are they trying to build with that?
Exactly. Yeah, after those direct engagement calls, the content really doubles down on building anticipation for what's coming next. This source, for instance, it teases a future reveal about, quote, the one food accelerating joint damage, promising you'll be shocked.
Shocked, of course.
And then subscribe so you don't miss it. It's classic. This technique, it's often called the curiosity gap. It creates this really powerful incentive for you to come back.
Yeah.
It implies there's some vital, maybe hidden information that you absolutely need to know. So we connect this to the bigger picture, step back a bit. These elements really highlight common strategies. You see them everywhere, not just health content. They encourage that immediate interaction. The like, the subscribe, the comment, and they create strong anticipation for future stuff. And it's quite a calculated move, really. Build a loyal audience, ensures you keep consuming, even when the initial pitch is just straightforward, unbiased info or, free doctor advice. It's a subtle shift, isn't it? From just providing information to fostering a community and really a habit of return visits.
So wrapping up here, what does this all mean for you as someone trying to navigate this vast world of online information, trying to make informed choices about your own wellness? It seems like we're constantly bumping into advice that comes bundled with these kinds of strong, almost urgent calls to action and these promises of shocking revelations next time. As you seek to be well informed, how do you evaluate the reliability, the true intent, maybe? When health advice is presented with such persuasive and engaging packaging, it certainly gives you something to think about beyond just the habit itself, doesn't it? Forces you to consider the whole ecosystem where that advice lives.